I don't hear a drum.
I don't know. There's like a conference call in the room next to me.
Oh.
It goes like run, run, run.
No.
I don't hear that at all.
I'm just hearing over the.
That's weird. That might be an artifact of your connection, I guess.
But you hear it.
No.
Oh.
Or have you checked your ears lately?
Just remember, your viewers have backed my ears.
That's true. Roger has the better ears. Well, because I only hear the one channel. That's why we need to trust Roger.
Trust Roger.
Those words don't go together for Veronica.
You trusted me for 3 years to cart your keister back home.
That's true.
It's not like I was driving into walls or bicyclists, although there were a few bicyclists that probably should have driven into. But you didn't hear that from me. Not on an open channel.
But don't take my word for it.
Reading Rainbow. I love it.
Butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high.
I have an ongoing.
Come on, just belt it out. The office won't mind.
It's in a book.
I'm good.
Take a look.
I'm good.
They need to get to know the real Veronica. No, there's no echoing TV or video. That's just office noise.
Okay.
People on a conference call. So, Bob, if you could look at page 4 of the RFP, you'll see that I think Darlene did an excellent job of laying out our points for the Q4 projections.
It's wonderful. How do we
that's
execute?
not anything of what you're talking about.
How do we execute?
Do you still have control, Roger? Yes, you do. Good.
I have control.
Control.
All right, I'm going to shut up.
Okay, I'm gonna do a show. Veronica, would you like to join me?
Sure.
All right. Here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, August 15th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, as she does most Mondays, Ms. Veronica Belmont, back in the house. Actually, not in the house. You're in an office, joining us from your new gig. So if you hear a little murmur in the background, that's our highly produced office background track.
Very expensive.
Yeah, we've gone to great lengths to procure that from the BBC Sound Library. No, it's just because she's in an office.
Yes,
How you doing?
I am. I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Yes, I apologize, as always. It's a little roomy in here. It's a little chattery, but that's just, working woman life. Wait.
Theater of the mind.
Yes, I am a working woman, but I don't
Right.
think that means what I think it means.
Careful of the order and phrasing of that. But yes, you are a person who has a job. That's what you're
There
trying
you
to say.
go. There you go.
Let's start off. We're going to talk about gold flake tattoos that turn your skin into a touchscreen. So you don't want to stop the podcast before we get to that, but let's start with the top stories. I'm sure all of us have read all 10,000 words of the Washington Post interview with Tim Cook. In fact, I'm sure many of us actually have. Reflecting on his first 5 years as CEO of Apple, Cook, if you want to not have to read all 10,000 words, said the following. This is kind of a summary. He called augmented reality a core technology. He called smartphones the greatest market on earth. He predicted that if every person in the world will have one, he's trying to bolster the fact that Apple's hot into smartphones and some investors are souring on it. He says, no, it's a great market. It's a great market to be in. He said they determined they could have built technology to help the FBI unlock an iPhone. He's like, we got together. We took a couple days. We realized we could comply with the request if we wanted to, but we just didn't think we should because we didn't think we could keep the technique out of the hands of bad people. When asked about mistakes, he cited Apple Maps. He said that's one where we are honest with ourselves. It was not good. He said, I think we're pretty proud of it now. He didn't mention John Browett's name, but he did say they made a mistake hiring an executive who didn't fit into the culture regarding retail. And John Browett very famously was retail head for only a year at Apple. Cook also said he's already looking for a successor and that he talks with the board about candidates to succeed him, or at least about the succession program at every meeting, saying that he wants to make sure that what happened with Steve, which he says, I thought Steve was going to bounce back. He did not expect Steve Jobs to pass as fast as he did. He's like, I want to never have that kind of uncertainty. Steve Jobs and I talked about that and not having that be a problem in the future. The one thing he didn't talk about was cars. He wouldn't reveal anything about cars.
Wow, I guess that having a succession plan in place makes a lot of sense, but I didn't realize they were talking about it that frequently. That's pretty impressive. I would love to be a fly on the wall in those meetings.
And know what names have gone on and off that list over the years. I'm sure it's not a static list, right?
That's very true. You're right. That's also a good point. I'm surprised he would throw shade at a previous employee, though.
Yeah, well, he said it was a mistake because it wasn't a fit. He tried, he's Tim Cook. He tried to be very diplomatic about it, and he didn't name Browett by name. I think that was him trying to not throw shade, but also trying to say, hey, that was a mistake. And I don't think he was trying to blame Browett, just like we hired the wrong guy. He's great for other things, but he wasn't good for us.
All right, fair enough, I guess. I'm looking forward to reading through this one. I haven't had a chance to yet, but that's going in the pocket list.
Yeah, it's a very detailed look into Tim Cook's mind. Nothing earth-shattering in there, but if you read the whole thing, you really get a good impression for how he thinks and the way he views things.
Speaking of Apple, KGI analyst Ming-Chi Kuo says Apple will add a new 10.5-inch iPad to its lineup next year, along with upgraded 12.9-inch and low-cost 9.7-inch versions. Kuo also predicts revolutionary design changes in the iPad in 2018, including a flexible AMOLED display.
No iPad mini on this list, which I find intriguing. That could be, if this ends up being true, that could be because Apple believes that larger phones are filling that gap, and they don't need to fill that gap. I love the idea of a 9.7-inch that's cheaper. I could replace my 9.7-inch iPad, which is a third-generation iPad, with something cheap and feel good about it because I use it mostly for prompter and little bitty things. So it's not worth me spending a lot of money to replace, but it is getting slow at its age. So maybe they're seeing some opportunity there. But yeah, the most fascinating thing here is a flexible AMOLED display in a tablet.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it would take for me to really use an iPad with any kind of regularity. I've tried throughout the years to use all the different versions. I think the only one I don't have is the largest version that you have that I briefly tested out at your place. For me, it's phone or laptop. I can't get myself to use an iPad. I can't integrate it into my day-to-day activities, and Ryan uses his constantly. It's just not for me, and that feels weird to say. I feel like there have been very few pieces of technology that have had any sort of popularity that I've completely just not used at all or cared about. iPad is that for me.
Yeah, well, I think tablets in general are having a hard time with ubiquity. They are good in certain situations, and therefore they keep selling, and they will keep selling for a while, but they are not what I think a lot of people thought they would be, which is a replacement for things. And that Apple commercial where they try to make the iPad Pro look like a computer just makes me cackle. Because it's like the three things it can do that are like a multitasking computer they show in that commercial, which is like we can have two things on the screen at once with a video playing in the corner, and it's like, yeah, that is not a multitasking computer. That is not going to ever replace my computer. But tablets are good for me. I use it as a portable television sometimes if I want to sit out on the porch and watch video.
That's a good point.
I use it in the mornings to read, and actually in the evenings to read. I read books, I read feeds, I read newspapers on my Pixel C, as a matter of fact, not even on an iPad. So I've found reasons for it, but if I weren't trying to use these to see what they're good for, I don't know how many I would even have.
Good point.
Google released code for a new operating system called Fuchsia, designed for embedded systems. The system uses the Magenta kernel. That's part of the Fuchsia. There's some other programs that it uses that make it combine into Fuchsia. They explain it in the GitHub article if you really want to see about it. But it's the Magenta kernel, which doesn't do a lot, but it's great for embedded systems. Their mods to it support 32-bit and 64-bit ARM and 64-bit x86 processors. They also added in native support for user accounts, a capability-based security model, and they're using Google's Dart programming language as the primary programming language. It's available for testing, should run on a PC or in a virtual machine pretty easily, and Google's Travis Geiselbrecht said that a Raspberry Pi 3 support is in the works.
Awesome, and well done pronouncing that name, Tom.
Thank you.
Just wanted to give you props for that.
Thank you very much. I don't know that I pronounced it right now that you've called attention to it, but I certainly pretended like I knew what it was. Yeah, so on the one hand, we could poke fun at Google and say, oh great, just what we need, another operating system, Chrome OS, Android, etc. But those are all Linux based. This is not Linux based, and it's Google's Tizen, essentially. They're like, we're going to have an operating system built from the ground up specifically to be lightweight. That could be a really smart move for Internet of Things.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I would love to learn more about this. You know, people are definitely kind of on an Internet of Things buzzkill mode right now. You know, what was a very hot kind of sector of technology is now getting a little more heat on it in a bad way. So, you know, maybe Google jumping in with all the options that they have in the future will help bring things back up again.
Yeah, my feeling about that is we get too excited about things when they first sort of become viable, and then we get less excited than we should be about things in reaction. I feel like we're on that part of the curve right now, so it's good for Google or anybody else to be putting things in place to be ready for when we get excited again. But it's always curious, like, will we get excited or will this just die out? I mean, that happens sometimes too.
Bots will never die, though, so we're good on that, right?
Yeah, says the
Forever?
person who works
Okay.
at a bot company.
Just making
Yes.
sure.
Probably.
The New York Times says Twitter is in talks to bring an app to the Apple TV. This would bring its live video to the platform, including NFL games. Twitter is now selling promoted stickers with Pepsi as the first buyer. Brands can design 4 to 8 stickers for users to add to photos, and stickers will generate a hashtag of the brand's choosing. This feels very Snapchat-like in a way. Branded filters, for example.
Absolutely. This is a good monetization play for Twitter. It's certainly not the thing that's going to save them, but it would be the kind of thing you would look at and point out if they didn't do. And I don't know if you took a look at those Pepsi stickers, but they're very subtle. Like, there's only a couple that you can really even tell are Pepsi at first glance.
And hey, it's a monetization. It's a way to make money for Twitter, which is something that they sorely need at this point.
Well, the thing they need is money, but even more than money, they need an increase in users. And I guess that's what the first part of your story is addressing, is if you can get a Twitter app on the Apple TV that can stream football games, suddenly all these live streaming deals that Twitter is doing make sense. Do you think Twitter ever evolves into a video service? A video service that, like no other, has a live social component built into it. Could be a huge win if they could pull it off.
That would be great for them. I just wish Twitter would figure out what they want to be. I think that is a huge problem that Twitter has been facing for the past several years. Like, what are they, a platform? Are they a media company? What exactly is Twitter? And once they figure that out, then they can start getting users and promoting to users in that way. It's kind of upsetting, actually.
Well, they're trying to say we're the live place. We're the place where you go to find out what's happening. And that could work. I could see that working. But our stickers aren't really part of that, so that's something they have to do in the meantime to get it there. And it is weird to think of a platform like Twitter being a place you go to watch video live. But I don't know, there's something appealing to me about the idea if they can pull off this pivot to say, in 4 or 5 years, oh yeah, Twitter's where I go to watch news and live sports events. It is the play. It has become my outlook to what is actually happening right now. And the fact that you can comment on things with Twitter is, yeah, that's how it got started, and you can still do it, but it wouldn't be central to what I use Twitter for anymore.
Oh man, I would love that if that had worked for the Olympics. Like, I did not watch a single Olympic event on television. You know, everything I saw was on the internet somehow. If I could have that and also have comments from the people I follow on Twitter about those live streaming events, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
I'd be really into that.
Oh, no, I agree as well. New York Times reports how Red's Best Seafood, a distributor in Boston, and many others are tracking the seafood they purchase so they know where it came from. A lot of what Red's does is try to get small fishermen sustainable fishing practices, etc. Red's system will let the buyers of its fish, now this isn't consumers, these are wholesale buyers, scan a sticker on a box of fish, which will launch a web page, and on that web page they can see what boat caught the fish, where it was caught, how it was caught. Red's Best's Jared Auerbach, who founded the company, hopes to eventually deliver fresh fish direct to consumers. He's like, I'd like to be able to cut out the middleman and say, hey, you want fresh caught pike? We'll have it at your door tomorrow, and you can scan the sticker and find out exactly when it was caught, where, etc. Conservation advocacy group Oceana has found in its studies that 33% of fish is mislabeled. It's not actually the fish it says it is. And Oceana, Google, and a satellite image researcher company called SkyTruth have partnered on globalfishingwatch.org, which uses satellite data to analyze fishing boat practices. And that's a data set that can plug into what Red's trying to do.
That is absolutely fascinating. I think that's a really amazing way to kind of have some quality control and figure out what the path from ocean to restaurant or ocean to refrigerator really is, and be able to have some accountability built in there.
I mean, if you're a data nerd and you eat fish, this is like a dream come true, right? Like
I'm a pescatarian.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you could dig right in. And I do love the idea of being able to know not only is this the actual fish it says it is, right? I buy fish at the grocery store, and it's like, I kind of look, and if it looks weird, like it looks too much like salmon, like if it's too red, I'm like, that's not salmon, it's supposed to be there, right? I'm a little suspicious, but a lot of times you're like, that just looks weird, I don't know if that's right. I would like to be able to do that scanning system. Obviously, a scanning system could be gamed, etc. But if you can get something that's reliable, to know like, okay, not only is this in fact tilapia, but it's not tilapia that was caught, you know, a year ago and frozen and then unfrozen. This is fresh caught like it says it is.
This sounds like pretty game-changing technology, actually, for a lot of industries. Like that would have a lot of ramifications throughout the industry. Very cool. Audi is building in technology that communicates with stoplights in the U.S. Vehicle to infrastructure, or V2I tech, lets infrastructure like stoplights send data to cars wirelessly through the internet. The Audis will show a countdown before a red light turns green, and a countdown to red if the vehicle determines it will not make it safely through a yellow. The tech will show up in Audi Q7 A4s built after June 1st, 2016, and work in 5 to 7 cities this year.
Okay,
that's it. It's 8. I think it's the Q7s and the A4s because those are 2 different cars.
Yep. Yeah, it's both of those. Those are the models it will go into. And I'm not going to buy a new car this year, so I won't take advantage of this, but I still want it to come to my city because I want to see how this works. Now, one of the things they do say is when the countdown gets close to 0, it will stop to encourage the driver to look up at what is happening around them. So that's an important part. And I wonder if the countdown to the red will have the intended effect. Generally, yellow lights mean speed up to most people, even though that's not what they're supposed to mean.
Exactly. Speaking of Audi news, VW will be buying back my Audi for a pretty decent amount.
Is that right?
I am part of the class action suit, and I got my amount, my estimate of what I'd be receiving back. And for all the crap that I went through with this process, I'm pretty pleased with the result.
Yeah. So you're just going to take the cash, huh?
I'm going to take the cash and run. Yep. We're going to be go from a 2-car household to a 1-car household. Interesting.
So this so this applies particularly to you, people who either are taking that buyback or aren't thinking they will buy a Volkswagen product now because of that whole scandal. This is addressing them. They're like, hey, we've moved past that, and look at this cool thing. Does this
Yes.
sway you at all into like, well, maybe I will want an Audi again?
No, I don't think so. I still have pretty good feelings towards Audi, the brand, even though I know that they're still the same parent company as Volkswagen. So I don't have any hard feelings towards Audi. I know it was just kind of a very strange, awful situation. But I don't think I'll be buying an Audi again.
And
or a Volkswagen.
Moving past that, just the vehicle to infrastructure thing is something that's been a kind of a buzzword for a while, and this is the first real world implementation of it that I've seen. I know there have been others, but this is the first time I will see it in the United States. It's difficult to pull off because you have to get the city to have its infrastructure communicate with your cars. And getting municipal governments to do things is often not a fast process and not an easy process.
Did they say anywhere which 7 cities it would be going live in?
They wouldn't say. They said 5 to 7, which means they're talking to probably 10, and they know that a bunch of them won't launch, so they're trying to manage expectations. They don't want to name any names.
Smart.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to all those who participate in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We get great stuff in there today. Another Jay Martin, The Corley, Abachuela Condolce, PC Guy 8088, Strike It Rich 1, Motang, and more. Join TM204 and others in voting and submitting stories at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. That is a look at our top stories. All right, so interesting note out there from MIT's Media Lab. Some students there, researchers there, teaming up with Microsoft Research on gold leaf temporary tattoos. So what they do is they are making a design in software that is a circuit design. They print it out as a stencil. They add the gold leaf for conductivity. They mount maybe some electronics to it. There's 3 ways that they're able to use these things. And then they apply it to your skin through a water transfer. So it ends up on your skin in various shades of gold leaf that looks like jewelry. Now, they can do 3 things with this. They can transmit touch controls. So you can swipe it and it will like control the music on your smartphone, be able to skip to the next song or something. They can have it change colors. So that can be done just for decorative, like when you get a notification, you know, a dragon's breath could turn red on your arm. They show something similar to that in their video. And then they can add NFC where the tattoo works as the coil for the NFC, and you could use that to be some kind of transmission of identity or payment or something like that. Again, linked to your smartphone or another device like that. They will hide an Arduino in your sleeve, usually if they need to communicate with a smartphone. $230 for them to buy the electronic cutter that prints out the stencils. Packet of gold leaf costs them about $10. That lasts them a while. And each NFC tag costs about $2.50. This is not expensive stuff, Veronica.
It's not, and I'm grateful that finally I can have some NFC control that I don't have to embed in my skin,
like which in my skin. Which you were fine with. You've always been fine with it.
Yeah. For a decade, I was fine with that idea. But now that there is a safer alternative, I'm looking forward to testing this out instead.
So would you get one of these in just like the circuit pattern, or would you want the fiery flame that lights up when certain things happen on your phone?
You know, I have to say, I really like the gold leaf patterns. I think they're quite beautiful, actually. I like some of the jewelry styles. It is too bad that temporary tattoos, they don't last a terribly long time. And I wonder what kind of deterioration would start occurring, you know, after a couple of showers or after a workout or having it rub up on clothes. So I do have a few questions about the longevity of this kind of stuff, especially if you're using it for some kind of control for your phone, for example. That would be kind of a pain in the butt to have to constantly redo.
How often do you have to refresh it?
Yeah. And I know this is more of a proof of concept at this point, though, you know, it does sound like they are going to be making them. But that kind of stuff, you know, I don't like stuff that I have to constantly be replacing or think about. I like kind of set it and forget it.
Yeah, every Sunday putting on my temporary tattoo for the week that's about the limit I could see.
I can't even keep up with dyeing my hair every 6 weeks, let alone.
Right, you don't want to run into that one time when you needed your NFC elbow and you forgot to reapply. I also, like in the video, they talk about how this is leaning into places like Taiwan, where affordable jewelry is a big part of the culture, and this will get people to use wearables. it definitely feels like something that people would want to play with. I'd want to play with the swipe thing that could be on my arm and allow me to like do some skipping or something. That would be actually great for running. But it also feels a little fatty. It feels a little like something that would be great as a demo, get a few people to try. And partly because of those practicalities, I'm not sure it would become a permanent thing. The one thing they did mention was integrating it into jewelry so that it's not always attached to the skin. But
then it's just a wearable.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of defeats the purpose.
So I love stuff like this because I love thinking about new interface designs and how we're kind of taking that technology into the future and testing out new ways that we can control our many and varied devices throughout our homes and out in the world. And I kind of, they talk about tattoos, how someday you could actually go to a tattoo parlor. In the video they mention this, and have something permanently done to your skin that could work this way. That to me is a little more appealing, actually, because I was thinking about semi-permanent or permanent measures along these lines for the past decade. So the idea of getting a tattoo and just having that be my NFC like identifier would be pretty neat.
That's where it becomes a very generational thing. Even for people who like to get tattoos now. Having a tattoo permanently added to you that is a control system for your device. I mean, how many accessories have you bought for devices that you can no longer use, right? It's
true. I mean, so we have to kind of figure out which technologies are going to be a little bit future-proof. Future-proof is very difficult to say, but at least, as you mentioned, generation-proof.
You really need a standard. That would be my first required.
Standards.
Yeah. Some kind of standard that is solid and is going to work for a while. Even USB, which is one of the most solid standards, we've noticed the change in connector types, whether it's on the male or the female end. Now we're getting USB-C, which is an entirely different connector type. Like, granted, this isn't a connector type, right? It's wireless. But what happens when the wireless protocol is improved? And now it's like, oh, it doesn't really work with your older system. Can you swap out just the NFC chip, maybe, and then keep the circuitry tattoo? Can you modify it? How hard is it to modify?
If it was based on a pattern, I feel like you could translate that to different standards throughout the years. Yeah. So maybe if they worked on something like that where it was transferable to different technology, but just recognizing similar patterns. But yeah, getting anything embedded in you that could be obsolete, probably a bad idea.
Well, the paper is going to appear at the International Symposium on Wearable Computers 2016 in Heidelberg, which happens September 12th through the 16th. So it's just the start. But the other thing to remember, as I mentioned, this doesn't cost a lot of money to do. A lot of these sort of advances that we hear about are like, well, we're trying to bring it down to scale so we can bring it to a factory setting. This is something that anybody could do if they can afford a $230 cutter. You could certainly afford a little gold leaf and NFC. And DIY this at home. So maybe that makes it more standards ready or at least easier to play with.
It makes me just want to get some gold leaf temporary tattoos because those things are really pretty.
Yeah. Well, and then why wouldn't you, if you're going to go that far, why wouldn't you make them so that they can connect with something and stick an Arduino up your sleeve?
Can I write this off if we use it for the show?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
As long as we do a good video of you controlling something. Let's get to our pick of the day. Morgan Arkmo on the Reddit and Capmo in the tab pool. The same person that Morgan is identifying himself just said that he has discovered a feature on Amazon while searching for new running shoes. Amazon has introduced Find the Right Size. When you click on a button, it asks you to select your current running shoes so that it can know what size you have now. As long as they work well for you, this should work. Then it provides you with a detailed analysis of how the shoe you're looking at compares to the one you already have. Wow. There's some text descriptions. He says, in my case, it says the shoes that I am looking at will be looser in the toes, typical width, and looser in the heel. It even provides a detailed 3D scan of the structure of the shoe that is color-coded to show where it fits differently. Green for the same, blue for looser, red for tighter. He says, I'm super excited to have discovered this tool, and it is thereby my duty to share it with my fellow DTNS comrades.
Well, I want to know how it worked out. I want to know if the shoes he bought felt as described. Yeah, we got to get an update.
Morgan, if you ended up following through on any of those purchases, give us a shout. Let us know how good they fit. and whether it was exactly as said. Was it loose in the toes where it said it was loose in the toes, etc. Because yeah, I actually enjoy my once-a-year journey to replace my running shoes, which I do because that's what they recommend. I think they recommend it even more often, but that's ridiculous. I'm not made of shoes, so I try to replace them at least once a month, or once a year. But I like going and trying them on. What I don't like is getting it wrong. I would use this if it was like, these are the ones that we think will work, and maybe I could have 2 options, and then I go and actually try them on, walk around it, and then go, yep, that's the one.
That would be good. Yeah, but this kind of technology is another thing I'm really excited about. Like, there's a few brands that are trying to do this kind of thing, like where you go and you basically like make a 3D model of yourself. You stand on a platform and they do that. It's kind of like being in the security line at the airport. And then you can try on clothes and they'll tell you which is going to fit you the best. And there's no substitute for actually going to the store and trying things on. But I do like whittling down my options a little bit, especially when I'm shopping online.
Yeah, and playing off of something you already own is pretty genius. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Got a couple messages of the day. First one is from Brian in Chino Hills, who wrote to point out that CVS could keep its payment app that we were talking about last week. And I was like, well, I like the idea that it replaces a bunch of cards. I don't like the idea that it's yet another payment system that I have to remember. He says they could get the best of both worlds. Here's what Brian writes. If CVS added additional payment options like Apple Pay into the app itself, as well as let customers use those options at the register without the app, then it would be able to offer all the benefits to those who want them, in addition to maximum flexibility to anyone paying with or without the app.
That would be great.
Genius. Yeah, do that, CVS. Let me pay with Apple Pay and give you my rewards card separately at the counter if I want, but then give me the app with Apple Pay or Google Wallet in either case, and let me pay with that on the back end with the app. Let me choose.
I'm still bad at paying with Apple Pay. I don't know when I turned into such a Luddite, Tom. I don't know when this happened, but I cannot, like, it is never faster for me to try to use Apple Pay than it is to just pull out my credit card. I swear.
Is it because you haven't gotten the habit?
It's got to be, or like I never know which places really use it, and so like you have to ask, and then you have to figure it out, and then
yeah,
so just take my credit card and do the thing.
I have one place, the dog bakery near our house, where we buy a lot of our dog food, that uses Apple Pay. They've used it from early on, and it is great. I always pull out my phone. They are, unless it's somebody like brand new, they know like, oh, you're using Apple Pay, no problem. I hit it, it's done. I almost never shop at Whole Foods, but when I do, I pay with Apple Pay because I know it works there because that was the first place I tested it. No other place, even McDonald's, which I know takes it, do I ever use it because I'm afraid of having to go through the dance of like, can I use this? Yeah.
That's what I miss the most about Square Wallet, was that it would you just go near the store and it'd be like, oh, are you at Sight Glass on 7th? And you'd be like, yes. And then you would pop up on the register, and then when you pay, they just click your name.
Yeah,
and
you didn't even pull your phone out of your pocket. I loved it.
It was amazing. And they stopped doing it. And I was like, oh, this would have been so great if this had caught on. I think they were way ahead of the curve.
Yeah. You want to read our next message?
Yes, Tom, this is from Randy. Randy from the home of Bonnaroo in Manchester, Tennessee. He says, I'm a technology director for a small school system, and we have been using 15 rubber duckies to enroll 1,000 Chromebooks in our Google Apps domain. It also works great to set up the for BIOS for Windows PCs that we deploy. So for any school tech people that have to work deploying Chromebooks and PCs, I highly recommend rubber duckies. Plus, it is fun to send a PO to the business department asking to buy rubber duckies from a hack shop. Love the show.
Yeah, so this is in response to us talking about the rubber ducky being in Mr. Robot with Darren on Friday. And I had said, well, a lot of people use it for pen testing, and Darren pointed out, he's like, yeah, but it can also be used just to make your sysadmin life easier when you don't want to have to keep typing in the same commands all the time for things. These are great examples of a totally non-malicious in any way use of the rubber ducky. It's a great hack to help Randy set up all of these thousands of Chromebooks. And yeah, I hadn't even thought about the fun of putting that PO into the school department. Like, yep, a bunch of rubber duckies. That's what we bought.
That's awesome.
It's too bad they're not actually rubber duckies anymore. They're just USB drives, but still. Thank you, Randy, for that. And thank you, Veronica Belmont, for joining us, as always.
Of course. Thank you for having me, as always.
What is going on to tell the folks about?
If you guys use Slack for a large team, I want you to test out Growbot. It's the product that I'm working on right now, and we're in love with it, of course. I'm biased, though. So yeah, check it out, growbot.io. Of course, Sword and Laser with Tom every week, swordandlaser.com, and I'm over on Twitter at Veronica.
Yeah, Sword and Laser, we interviewed the Nerdist Inkshares winners this most recent episode, so go check that out. We've got a new episode coming out tomorrow as well. Thank you for supporting this show. There are many ways to support it. You can help us on an ongoing basis at patreon.com/DTNS. That is the biggest way people support us, and it really keeps us having the momentum. You can give by PayPal if that's more comfortable for you, or you can just shop in our store. We have mugs and stickers. Get a DTNS sticker, dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Also, if you want just the headlines of the day in less than 10 minutes, subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Chris Christensen, the amateur traveler, along with Patrick Beja's return from vacation. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Done.
Dunzo.
Can you
Good
hear me?
show. Yes, I can.
So many good titles, yeah.
Cool.
We
Thanks
can
for all the
actually
fish
hear that.
tracking.
That's funny.
Where's my
like that
video? Skintegrated circuits.
Skintegrated, yeah.
I like it. Yeah,
Two
these
fish
are good.
walk into a barcode. That's a bit of a stretch for me.
Okay, all right.
Tracking Nemo, almost funny.
Yeah.
Every tattoo has a GUI. What/is/Twitter. The fish chip tells all. I like that one. Massachusetts Institute of Tattoonology.
Tattoonology.
Thin skin technology. Tattoo units.
Our
By the
Arduino
skin
up
of
your
your-
sleeve is good too.
Skin proof standards. Let's see. There's Murmur. Veronica has a job. The Ubiquity Fishy Tracker. Track that fish.
I'm a pescatarian.
Yeah, I saw that get submitted in the chat room like immediately after you said it.
1,000
rubber duckies.
I
This
think
is-
the
do you
two
like?
top ones are equally good. I like both of them equally. I
All
don't
right.
know which
Well,
one
I'm
to
still
pick.
leveling. So
I
we've
would
got-
say Skintegrated circuits because that ties in with the main discussion.
Yeah, that'll be the
yeah.
tiebreaker. Let's let them
Okay.
ride though. Get in there and vote if you're watching live. Showbot.tv.
Well, one of the mislabeled fish. Mislabeled fish. See, the problem with the whole tracking thing, though, is it really depends on the integrity of the shipper. Like, they're not going to substitute something along the way.
Well, that's why that Google Oceana joint project is so important to kind of give some validation to like these boats are the ones that are doing what they say they're doing. And so you have a high level of confidence that they haven't done anything fishy.
Like they didn't harpoon Shamu and then masquerade it as rock cod.
Mostly they caught skate, but when they got back to shore, they said they had all these different kinds of fish.
It's like tuna, canned tuna. It's like could be dolphin meat.
Yeah.
Actually, it's never dolphin meat. So they
That
just
would be
kill
more
the
expensive,
dolphins.
wouldn't it?
Well, dolphin. I mean, all cetaceans are kind of fatty animals, so you would taste it. Subcutaneous blubber and all. They just.
Subcutaneous.
That's why you do the long line catch tuna.
All right, looks like Skintegrated circuits is it.
Oh yeah, it's starting to run away with it now. But remember, Usain Bolt looked like he was going to lose the 100-meter dash halfway through yesterday too. So
It's true. All right,
still
I have to
levelating.
go eat food.
yeah, go
Is
eat
that
some
okay?
fish. We've made you hungry.
Tuna.
All right, thanks guys.
All right, thanks, Veronica.
See you later. Bye.
Can you imagine if you did something where, like, I just thought of a great thing for the circuit, right? You do it between your fingers or your toes. And so if you need to, you can, like, you're in an emergency and you need to send out a distress beacon. You can just, like, close your fingers It completes the circuits.
So you're thinking this could solve the issue of the automatic phone thing that we were talking about last week.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because you just have it tattooed on you.
Right. I mean, probably your feet probably wouldn't be a great place because it'd be all sweaty from walking. But your hands, unless you can do between your butt cheeks, and then you have to clench really hard, complete the circuit.
I like that idea. Not sure I like that idea.
Clench to complete the circuit.
What if you just are watching a scary movie and you accidentally set it off?
But like you say, like you would have to, I guess someone could smack your hand too, but like you'd be like, I'm in trouble. I can, like you could, what? It could be like a prayer. You could hold your hands together like this. So it's like you're praying for your life. But what you're really doing is completing a circus to send up the emergency beacon.
Say your prayers, Rabbit.
Okay.
All right. Skintegrated circuits is our choice.
Skintegrated circuits. Circuits that are skintegrated.
They're integrated into your skin. That's how you know you're going to win.
Can you imagine if you did a modern version of the Illustrated Man?
The Skintegrated Man?
Well, like all his tattoos are just like those. They're just basically those semiconductive tattoos. And you can play them like an instrument.
Oh, yeah. It'd be like real life operation.
Oh, you know what? You could be like you could connect it to an Arduino board, connect it to like a synthesizer module, and then you could like tattoo like keys on your forearms and have people come up and like play you, so to speak. It's a good way to break the ice when you're at a singles bar. Hey, ladies, would you like to play a little tune?
On my wrist? I'm not sure about that one, Roger. I'm not sure. I just don't know anymore. I probably should date more if I'm going to understand that.
You should.
But I won't, because I don't need to, thankfully.
Well, stop being so bound by society's
by social norms. Why are you so uptight, man?
Yeah, come on. It's the 2010s.
It's the teens. So the house 2 doors up caught fire last night.
What? Like, wait, was this the house that they're working on?
No.
Oh.
It's the other direction from the house they're working on.
So wait, were you advised to vacate your house?
No, we didn't. Although I immediately went and grabbed my phone, put on the scanner, and put collars on the dogs, and got my wallet in my pocket and everything just in case. Because at first, when they first showed up, there was smoke coming out of the top of the house, and they jumped up on the top of the house with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this will be interesting. And they were there for a couple hours before they finally put it all out. But within like 15, 20 minutes, it seemed like they had the majority of it under
Typically,
control.
they want to see if there's any other smoldering that could reignite, which is the problem, especially with furniture.
It seemed like they were spending a lot of time around the fireplace. Even though my neighbor, her daughter lives in that house. So it's my neighbors, and then their daughter lives next to them. And she said it was the microwave that started the fire. But I can imagine it might have spread, and who knows. But yeah, this is the second time there's been a fire on this block in a year.
Wait a minute. So there was another home,
The last one was two doors up the other direction. The house on the other side the house on the other side of the one they're working on. The one they're working on has never caught fire because they're still always working on it.
Maybe.
But the house, that one was caused by somebody throwing a cigarette into the recycling bin and catching all the paper on fire. So
was it the homeowner that did that, or is it just some passerby?
It's rented out.
Oh, that's the worst thing. That always freaks me out, a fire.
Yeah, we would not have been able to leave our driveway had we needed to go anywhere. We didn't, but they had the whole street blocked off. I was ready. I was ready for them to be like, ladies and gentlemen, the whole thing's out of control. We can't stop it.
That's why I have renter's insurance.
Which almost never
Paranoid.
happens.
Paranoid.
Well, renter's insurance also is just a good idea.
Yeah. Although, supposedly if my car gets robbed and it's in front of my house, they cover that too.
Exactly.
But it can't be on the other side of town.
We had to get it, and it covers. One thing we didn't realize was it covers dogs too.
Like if someone took your dog, they give you a replacement dog?
I wasn't. I don't know. That's a good question. More like if the dog does something on your property, you're covered. Like it chews up. It's dog bites mostly, which I'm not worried about. But like even damage, if they damage somebody's property, chews it up. That's what I would more expect could happen.
Oh, Shane says, Ace Detect here in Brooklyn, we have suspicious fires all the time. Those old factories tend to blow up real good and miraculously turn into luxury condos.
Yeah, I've been watching the Get Down, Shane. I'm aware of that. It's kind of the whole premise of that first episode.
Yeah, it's pretty shady in some of those spots. Having family worked in that business and have had to rub shoulders with that level of business. What do you want done? Okay.
No questions asked. Neither one of these fires on my block were
suspicious.
Of that classification. One was was just like, come on, you don't throw a lit cigarette out into a big thing full of paper. Like, think first. The other one was a microwave fire, which that happens to people.
I have a hard time finding people that smoke anymore, if that's not like outside of a bar. Except, let me take that back. Smoke cigarettes.
You are in San Francisco, after all.
Man, it's got like we were driving back from Modesto, and I was driving on the overpass through when you go into San Francisco from the Bay Bridge. Man, you could smell it already. It's like, come on, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, that can't be real. You're imagining that.
No, Jen smelt it too. It's like we either drove right over.
You must have
something.
That must have just been a lucky.
My neighbor, that 2 doors down. Man, she opens the window and there's a cloud that gets sucked in through my skylight in the bathroom, and it's
that's crazy.
It's annoying.
All right, I believe I have successfully posted our show. Oh no, I see an error. This is why I check. Using a screen reader, click here. Why did that not? Oh, there's.
Did you
got the wrong? Yeah, no, I know what I did. I put the wrong link. I put the embed code in the using a screen reader code. How did I do that? That's the part I don't understand. All right. That's why I check. See, the system is working.
It is. Working for you.
Working for me. Okay, now the embed code went away. Well, this is fun.
Strong episode. Cancel.
This is how we make sausage.
Yeah, like sausage.
There we go. Now everything's there. Awesome.
Is there such a thing as beef sausage? Because most sausage I see is pork.
Pork, yeah, and chicken. Yeah, sure, you can make beef. Why wouldn't you be able to?
I'm thinking. No, I'm just thinking.
Beef hot dogs. That's essentially a sausage.
Yeah. I'm a little skeptical of the claims of all beef.
Are you?
Yeah.
We need a tracking system like the fish.
Yeah, that's the thing. I want to cut back on fish too, to ones that are sustainably harvested, but it's hard because there's a lot of endangered species like
that are so tasty that you can't resist them?
Well, they mislabel, like Chilean sea bass can be the Patagonian toothfish.
Well, that's the whole idea with this system, is to make sure those mislabelings would be...
I just go for farm fish. I go for tilapia.
Yeah,
Tilapia's...
and you can find farm fish. Like, there was a story today about farm fish now is like more prevalent than unfarmed fish.
Except for salmon. Farm salmon's bad, supposedly. Introduces fish lice, sea lice, into the wild populations, decimating them.
Pretty much doing anything as a human is bad.
Yeah.
We should just leave.
I am going to go get an icy.
Are you really?
No.
No.
I wish I knew where there was an icy. They're really hard to find now.
Does 7-Eleven not have them anymore?
There's no 7-Eleven near me. I don't have any 7-Elevens within 3 miles of me. It's
we
weird.
have 7-Elevens all over the place down here.
Well, it's because
Target has ices.
Oh, huh.
I think.
There's a city Target near me. I don't know if the city Targets have the same food options.
I got chicken McNuggets at the Walmart on Friday, and the shapes were exactly the same as always.
So is it a McDonald's?
I'm guessing, because they have a McDonald's at the Walmart. That's what made me think of it. And I'm guessing that they've changed the recipe, but not the form of the chicken McNuggets.
Does it taste more or less like chicken?
It tastes exactly like it always has.
All it is mechanically separated leftover chicken after they get all the prime cuts.
It's like when you, at the end of Thanksgiving, when you're just pulling the meat off of the turkey bones, the little scraps.
That's totally what they do.
Yep.
You know what? The food industry is probably one of the more efficient because nothing is wasted. Everything is used.
There's that whole idea of running a grocery store is so complicated. Like, I know there's a good system for it, but like keeping things fresh and then knowing how to stock inventory so that you make money, and then knowing what to do with the things that don't sell but can still be resold or turned into something else, like, it's so complex.
Well, didn't was it France or one of those countries mandated that produce, like bad produce or end of shelf life produce, had to be given to charity, like instead of just being dumped?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do something similar here. They take things from the Whole Foods that they can't sell anymore, and they give them to the senior center. Because one day my neighbor was like, "Do you want any of this stuff?" They gave it to me, and I don't want it. She was actually much nicer when she said it than I did.
She didn't have the
No.
Well, they probably gave it because the fruit's all soft and it's easier to chew for the older folks.
That is not why. It wasn't even the fruit.
I remember the canned food store, Modesto. Now it's a Staples, but they basically had like the last 2 weeks shelf life of a canned food, and they sold it at like 60% off.
Railroad Salvage in Mulberry Grove used to do that too. Some of it was actually railroad salvage, but a lot of it was just that kind of outlet.
Wait a minute, so it was actually okay.
Yeah, railroad salvage started as a guy who would go around whenever there was a train wreck of a freight train, and he would buy up the stuff that fell off the freight train. And he'd go through and he'd get rid of all the dinged and damaged stuff that he couldn't sell, and then he'd find gems and he would put it in his store.
I don't mind if it's dinged as long as it's not from like botulism or something that.
Right.
But that would swell the can.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we did. I that's where I got Splinter of the Mind's Eye. That was at Railroad Salvage in Mulberry Grove.
Huh. Interesting.
It was a 3-pack of Star Wars, the novel, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and then I can't remember what the third book was. I think it was like a making of, like a.
So wait, it came off the train that way, or did they just package it that way?
So what probably happened, because when you go to the store, they would just have the books on the shelf for sale. But what probably happened was there was a box of those books on a freight car that was in an accident and got thrown off the train, and so he went and bid to like just buy the stuff that had fell off the train.
And they shrink wrapped it, like all 3 books together?
Well, the books were already shrink wrapped. That's the way they were supposed to be sold in the stores.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining this guy like taking all these books. And just
No. Wasn't like that. All right, thanks everybody for watching. We will be back tomorrow with Chris Christensen and Mr. Patrick Beja's triumphant return from his European vacation. Talk to you then.
He's in Europe, though.